Hey guys, this is the Mr. Republican show. It's been a interesting and long week, you can say, with a lot of drama and more soon to come. I am here with Brian, my good friend. He's going to help kind of like tear down all these different events going on and kind of give his opinion and views on it too.
Yeah,
Uh,
thanks for having me.
yeah. So Brian, I guess we can go ahead and start with the big news. Wisconsin, we got the results, and I wanted to wait a day in order to kind of like pick through these results. What's your initial reaction to this pretty big landslide victory for Cruz?
Well, I really thought it was time coming because you could kind of tell all of the slip ups Trump was having recently. For example, the abortion question and the NATO thing kind of sparked some further controversy. And plus, I think Cruz really had further momentum with the Scott Walker endorsement and all sorts of other sorts. So,
Do you
um,
think it was just one thing,
do I think it was one thing?
or do you think it was like everything combined? Do you think it's a certain moment last week that caused him to lose, or do you think it was kind of like accumulation of so many things coming
Yeah,
together?
uh, uh, accumulation of all sorts of things happening. I think that Trump states are kind of ending. Wisconsin's very much loved by Scott Walker, so that really helped turn the tables.
hmm How many percentage points do you think he made? Because a lot of people are saying like, oh, Scott Walker made like 10 percentage point difference. He would have still lost in that case.
Yeah, I think the voters too kind of are seeing further and further anti-Trump stuff going on. I don't know, maybe people are getting sick of him. Maybe people. I can't speak for the voters, but
So, do you think this was like an anomaly? It's like one state, the rest of the states will go heavily for Trump because there are some more suited for him coming up, like New York. You have Pennsylvania, Maryland, states like that. Do you think this is just like a fluke?
I don't think this is a fluke. I think there's change coming, but I don't think it's to the point where Cruz is going to win all those states. I think
hmm
I think very much New York is going to be a Trump win. But I think places like uh, Maryland and maybe Delaware are Cruz wins.
Really, you think he could win Maryland and Delaware?
Um, the polls don't agree with me, but being around here and being around the voters, uh, people really here liked Rubio, and since he's
Huh?
gone, I don't think they're going to go back Trump.
Well, just for example, Wisconsin was going for Trump just a month ago. So it isn't crazy to think within 3 weeks that the polls could be either tied or leaning Cruz.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I
Money
think,
has such an effect on it too. So
yeah, yeah, I didn't necessarily think Walker gave him a good, I think he gave him a 5% boost because the machine can turn out from 1 to 5%. That's what I've been saying with all these primaries. The
mhm.
machine can help you. It can't win you, but it can gain you percentage points. And that's what Walker did. He gained Trump percentage points, not by a large margin that most people think, but I think around 5%. And I think what hurt Trump more isn't necessarily Walker coming out for Cruz, but Trump bashing Walker.
Uh-huh.
Because if your governor comes out to support someone, that's not necessarily going to make you want to vote for him. But the person bashing your governor, saying, oh, he's so bad, but yet you're doing good economically and all these other things, that kind of like insults the voters that have voted for Scott Walker in the past. And
Well,
he's had a lot of elections.
Well, the thing is, too, Trump's attacked the voters a bunch of times, and I mean, that hasn't seemed to hurt him in other cases. So I don't know.
See, I argue with people who say it hasn't hurt him because the key is, yes, it hasn't caused voters who are in his niche to leave. That 30%, they're not going to leave him. But where it's hurt him is from what you're seeing now is he can't grow from that 30%. That's why he can't attract other voters. Yes, it absolutely has hurt him. And people who think otherwise are putting their heads in the dirt and not seeing that he can't pull in more voters. That's why he's having such a problem gaining more delegates than, usually a front runner would.
Mm-hmm.
All those wins with 33, 37, 32% coming back to haunt him. And he doesn't realize how much he benefited from an entire race with 15 people.
Yeah.
So, I guess we can move on because there's a lot of things going on in the news this week. And one of the big things is Mississippi passed a Religious Freedom Act that's getting a lot of flack. Same kind of thing Georgia was going to do until the governor vetoed it. So, what's your reaction to that? And to New York also kind of freaking out over it.
Well, I think the law, obviously it's very controversial, but I think they shouldn't have necessarily passed the bill because I don't really think you can deny someone services based on being LGBT. But the other thing is, at the same time, I don't think that New York and Vermont should be going on all out like government travel to Mississippi is over. It's like, come on now. It's like, I think that's a bit of an overreaction, but I don't agree with the law either.
Yeah, for me, I would have to read a lot of the legal language. From what I gather, I really think as long as it stops them from having to do a part of a practice that is in in part of their faith. It's kind of like if, let's say, for the sake of argument, a KKK member goes into a bakery of a black person. It's African American bakery. Now, do you think that African American bakery should have to vote that cake because that KKK member has the right under freedom of speech to be able to say those things? So is that is the cake maker discriminating against a KKK member from his own right of freedom of speech?
I think that the baker should comply. I thought the same thing about the denying marriage license, because if you can't really hold a position where you can do your job as you should, then I think you should find a different job where you are able to hold such a job.
See, that's a little bit different, though, because a private business isn't exactly the same as being a clerk in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, this law is defending the actual businesses, their right to be able to say, hey, we don't believe in same-sex marriage. Therefore, we don't want to be involved with any practices when you guys are getting married. Now, that doesn't mean if you're gay and you walk into a cake shop, they can't be like, oh, you're gay, I don't want to serve you. What they're saying is you can't force the cake maker to go and like serve at your wedding when they obviously don't believe in it.
Well, I'm not really sure which side of it is, whether it's denying or necessarily forcing them to do it. But
I mean, legally, this is going to have to be solved in the Supreme Court eventually. It's going to happen in the next 5 years.
yeah,
So,
definitely. and we'll see what the balance of the court is then.
Yeah. So we'll see what it is. I do think what New York and those other states are doing is legally not allowed, and I think it's stupid because
Yeah, absolutely.
if every conservative state wanted to like boycott New York because of their sugar drink ban, I mean, I wouldn't agree with that either. I think it's unfair trying to force your political beliefs on the other state just because with stuff like that, just because you disagree with them and you
Mhm.
feel like your opinion is so much better or you know so much more.
Yeah, states are kind of meant to set precedent for our examples of what other states should do, but that does not mean that you should completely just say, you're wrong, I'm going to refuse to comply with you, and just instead of just ignoring it.
hmm So, moving on to the National Enquirer story, I've heard a lot of things like there's a new tagline, the Cuban mistress crisis going on. Like, what do you think? Is it true in your opinion? Do you think it's garbage? Like, what's your sense from this story in the
Uh,
National Enquirer?
I really think it's garbage. Um,
Do you think Trump and his campaign did it?
I don't think Trump his campaign did it either, but I think that National Enquirer, we know it's not a trustworthy magazine. They're just trying to, or no, it's not even a magazine. It's a tabloid. Um, they're trying to get readers and trying to attract attention to their product. Um, for example, there's been so. I mean, this is just trying to get entertainment and people to buy their magazines when it's like they're just coming up with stuff that is not necessarily true. Like, you can't really trust the tabloids unless there's actual proof.
hmm
Like,
Well, here's some information on National Enquirer. Um, from Do you know the source from the story is whole that whole mistress story? The source is Roger Stone. Do you know who Roger Stone is?
no, I do not.
He is actually a former aide for Donald Trump. And he even quotes in the story, hey, if I'm wrong, you think I'm wrong. If I'm lying, sue me. Yeah, I dare you to sue me. So I just think this guy is obviously someone who has a vested interest in smearing Cruz. Not to mention the paper that it's in has endorsed Donald Trump. So let's put these pieces together. The paper has endorsed Donald Trump. They get a guy who used to work for Donald Trump on his presidential campaign, and they put a story out on it. I just.
Yeah, I mean, it may be a possibility, but I don't really think that Trump has anything to do with it. I think it's this
Yeah, but
individual.
isn't that really the Donald Trump way? It's like when he did the whole citizenship thing. He's like, "Oh, I don't know if you're eligible. Oh, I don't know if you actually cheated on your wife."
Yeah, he's done that before, but I really think that Roger Stone acted on his own interests as a Trump supporter and decided to put out such an article. I don't think the Trump campaign had really any effect on this. I think Trump supporters had an effect on this.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's a complete smear. We would have heard about this a long time ago. It's very, very, very rare. Someone who's been in elected office as long as Senator Cruz has been able to get through all the primaries and elections he's been through without all this stuff leaking out. It's like John Edwards is a very rare, rare example of that happening in the presidential campaign. And Bill Clinton did it when he was president. So
Mhm.
I highly doubt he did, or someone would have released it by now. Trump would have released it straight after Iowa, in my opinion, if it was actually true.
Yeah, Trump would have taken further action to slow this, because if this were true, I don't see why Trump would be letting this happening to the point where he will be forced to go into a CC.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go into the election update and kind of talk about that. So, with Donald Trump losing in Wisconsin, he only got 6 delegates out of Wisconsin. And that actually changes the delegate map drastically. People don't realize, oh, it's only 30 delegates. Yeah, people, every delegate counts. That's how close Trump is to not winning nomination. And I would just tell everyone, go on 537 or 538.com and you can see a very cool interactive little graph you can go into, and you can enter all the percentages of Trump winning delegates in the upcoming states, and you can see if you can get him to 1237, which is the amount of delegates you need to win.
Mhm.
And if you do that, you see the math. Even if he won 100% of New York, Maryland, Delaware, and all these upcoming northeastern states, he wouldn't get to that number.
No, he really can't. But the question is, how will he fare in the contested convention? That's what we should be asking today. How, which is a totally separate issue.
Yeah, and on the first ballot, there's only 5% delegates that are unbounded, 125, and we'll go into those numbers a little bit in a few minutes. But let's say Trump gets to the... What, in your opinion, Brian, would you say is the magic number for Trump to get under for him to be guaranteed the nomination without getting exactly to 1247? Like, is it 40 delegates close? Is it 50 delegates close? Now, what's that number for you?
I think 40 or 30 is about where it should be. 50, I mean, I don't really think you've earned it by then. 100, you definitely didn't earn it. So I think 30 or 40, I mean, that's about the size of Wisconsin or any sort of state, or how much delegates, what's his name got? Cruz in Wisconsin, about 30 delegates. So yeah, the number's got to be 30. But I don't think that they'll follow that, because the establishment does not want Trump.
Yeah, I've been doing some calculations, and our spotlight's on unbounded delegates, so I guess we'll kind of move into that category too. Is what is unbounded delegate? So here it is, people. It's basically a delegate that can choose who he votes for on the floor. Now, how are these delegates picked? It varies state by state. Most delegates are picked by state conventions if they're unbounded delegate. So they're chosen kind of by party leaders, and it's been pretty well known that Cruz has been doing very well at these, and it's even Trump has conceded like 10 delegates from Louisiana that became unbounded. Now, from my math, there are around 30 delegates already against Trump that have pledged to Cruz. And that leaves his number, because there are 125 unbound delegates on the first ballot.
Yes.
This is first ballot, people. So that leaves him with 97 delegates left. Just follow my math here. 97 unbound delegates, a pool to get support if he is short of nomination. That almost leaves where, like Brian was saying, If he's 100 delegates away, he's not getting it, people. He's not. That would require him to get all these delegates to vote for him and more, which is not going to happen. So, in my opinion, that magic number for him is even higher than 40. Oh no, sorry. That magic number for him to get to, I would say, is 50.
50.
For me, yeah, 50. I think he has to get within 50. 50 is still a gray area. You could have him lose it at 50. That's unprecedented. That's like a gray area because I feel like every delegate away he is from his goal is another percentage point likelihood he's not going to get it. I would look at it like that. If he's 67 delegates away, it's a 67% chance he's not going to win it on the first ballot. It's probably even greater, and it exponentially grows the further away he gets. If he's 80 delegates away, he has like a 95% chance of not getting it. He would have to win. Let me put this in context too. If he's 80 delegates away, you would have to win 80 out of 100 delegates unbounded that could switch votes. That's 80% of the unbounded delegate vote. And I'm underscoring all the delegates, unbounded delegates that will vote for Trump. Or not Trump, Cruz. The ones that he has kind of persuaded in Colorado, Wyoming, Oklahoma, Louisiana. If it's 80 out of 125, the entire delegate amount, that's still 60% of the delegates have to go his way. That's hard to see when the man has been getting constantly 38%. And varying, that's his total percentage of the vote right now. So if you look at the hard math, I think he's going to be 75 delegates away. That's, if I had to put a prediction down on right now, I would say he's 75 delegates away, and he loses on the first ballot by 50 delegates. What do you think about that, Brian? The unbounded delegates and all that math.
I think I pretty much agree that he's not going to make it. I mean, you got to really think that. I don't really think that this whole convention is necessarily democratic, because it's not what the people have voted for. Because he receives the most votes, so shouldn't that be how it would translate? But
I would say with that, it's meant to make it where plurality cannot win a party's nomination. And why is this key? Because if you have a plurality that can turn out its base more, like let's say it's 40% of the party and 60% party can't stand that plurality, what sense does it make if they can pull out more people and win more winner-take-all states to give them the nomination when you will absolutely have more of a percentage-wise not vote for them in the general? And this is what's happening here. That's calling it undemocratic and democratic. This country is a republic. We're not an exact democracy. And you have to understand, sometimes when you're voting in these states, you're voting for delegates, not for the man. And people don't realize this. Will I argue that, is it unfair that Donald Trump loses the 10 unbounded delegates in Louisiana when he won Louisiana by 3 points? No, I don't think that's unfair.
Yeah.
Because he's getting the percentage of his delegates awarded to him. He's getting 37% of Louisiana's delegates. It's his fault he can't persuade the 10 other delegates to vote for him. Now people might try to say, oh, it's stacked against him. No, your campaign can be actively campaigning for delegates and for voting in those state conventions. If his organization hasn't been doing that, guess whose fault that is?
His.
Trump's. Yeah.
Um, yeah, like whenever he would lose a state or something, he always goes, "Oh yeah, I was campaigning much there. I didn't expect that, so I just didn't try." It's like, is that the demeanor you want, or would you rather try to secure as many votes as you can get? I mean, he's aware that the CC is almost inevitable.
Yeah, and the more he just like swings at people, the more unlikely he's making it where a contested convention will happen. And let's kind of say what a contested convention and what a brokered convention is. So basically, a contested convention is when you go into a convention with the leader not having the necessary amount. So Trump being short, that makes it a contested convention no matter what. He technically doesn't have enough to win on the first ballot outright of just his delegates. So that means it's up to unbounded delegates to push him over. Now, brokered convention, that happens on the second and third ballot if the winner doesn't win or if the winner needs to cobble together coalitions of votes from different states. So there's the terminology. It becomes a brokered convention on the second and third ballots if Trump can't win. Now, it's possible for Trump to make it a brokered convention with Kasich if he makes him VP. It's not going to happen.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So, who do you think is going to be likely VP or will run for VP? Because this hasn't been something people have talked about. Because basically, a contested convention means it's a open VP slot for people to run for.
Um, I really think we're gonna have somebody like someone that's very much a governor or a prominent senator. Specifically, I'm thinking Nikki Haley a little bit. If she were able to run for the vice president position, I could see that being possible. Other
So
people,
you think she would make a move for the VP slot?
possibly.
Because people have to understand, when a nominee gets the majority, that means he has enough delegates that transfers over into the VP nomination slot. That's why it's always given to their choice. That's not the case with Trump. Trump will have incredibly. I think. Let me ask you this, Brian. Do you think each one of the candidates will announce their VP pick before the convention? Like who they would like to see as VP?
I think they'll be asked about it, and I think many of them will dodge the question.
So you think they're gonna leave it open for anyone to run?
I think so because I think that Trump's gonna say, "I want someone that can make deals," when it's like completely a vague statement what that means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could definitely see Nikki Haley run, or I think Paul Ryan is kind of knocked out from running for VP again. I don't think he would do that.
Mm-mm.
You could see a few congressmen run for it. You could see Trey Gowdy try to run.
Who else possibly? Who was talking at CPAC that's up and coming? Maybe Mia Love.
Ooh, that would be interesting. She's not from a swing state though,
Yeah,
so
that's true too.
no, I mean, I don't know how much a difference it really makes. You could see Senator from Iowa. What's her name? I can't think of her
Joni
name.
Ernst.
Yeah, you could see Joni Ernst run.
Yep. So I think it's really. We shall see. I mean, hey.
But I would say there hasn't been any moves in Nikki Haley trying to run, but I would say she would be the front runner if she ran on the floor.
Yeah.
Besides if like John Kasich ran.
Yeah, Kasich,
'Cause
I don't think's interested. He's repeated it several times. I think he's
But
happy.
they all say that. They all say that. Like Paul Ryan was saying that before Romney chose him, and I say with John Kasich, like I could easily see if, like, let's say Cruz wins it on the third ballot, him going on the VP ballot saying, "Hey, I'm running for VP now," and you could easily see where if Kasich had just pushed Cruz over the top, and Cruz is like, "I endorse Kasich for VP," you could see him easily win that VP
Yeah,
run.
but I really think it's kind of presidency or nothing for Kasich at this point because he's not Paul Ryan, who's in his 40s. I'm not exactly sure what age he is, but John Kasich's 63.
Yeah, but you kind of have like that Obama Biden thing going on. That's almost like a exactly similar thing. You have a young minority senator with a old white guy.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, Kasich's been around a lot.
I mean, what else is Kasich gonna do for the next 8 years?
I mean, I'm not sure. He'll probably stay involved in government, I think, regardless.
hmm I mean, he'll probably get voted. Probably after he dies, the people of Ohio will still elect him governor. I mean, they honestly will keep on voting for the man, no matter what.
Yes.
All right. So Brian, do you got any last thoughts?
Last thoughts? Nope. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, it was a good discussion. I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you kind of like these episodes where I try to bring on people with different viewpoints and, try to have a good open discussion about Republican politics. I know we didn't really talk about the Democratic race. Brian, do you want to do a quick thing on that? Like just simple summary?
Summary, Bernie Sanders is continuing his momentum after several states wins, continuing his message of anti-establishment. So,
Who wins? Clinton or uh Clinton or Sanders? Clinton?
yeah, Clinton's got the advantage of all the superdelegates, which I can't understand why that's the system there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, I don't know, Bernie just doesn't seem electable to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's Brian, Mr. Republican Show. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good day.
Thanks for having me.